Welcome to Heart of the Matter podcast. I am your host, Sherry J, and I am back with another episode. And this is Heart of the Matter podcast, where we discuss the issues that matter most to your heart. So, as I said, welcome again to all my new listeners, to all my new guests. And if you're watching this for the first time, again, my name is Sherry J, and I host a podcast where we discuss social epidemics. So, we discuss issues that surround fatherlessness. We discuss all kinds of like issues that are going on right now, the epidemic of like social decline and morality and the way the world is actually moving in certain directions that are affecting our communities in a negative way. So we try to shed light on those topics and just be a beacon of light to kind of say that hey, we can do better. We can do better. So again, hello to all my listeners. Hey, everybody who's on. If you are on, and you're new, drop your name and just say hello. So hey, I see everybody, Ashley, Tony, Stephanie, Mishi. Hey guys, I'm so glad you guys are on. So I'm so excited because the reason why I wanted to do this topic, and I feel like I tried to change it. I did not want to really do it, but it's like God bring this topic up to me and he kind of like kept pushing it. I was like, what else can I do? I could do, I got other topics that people have given me and I haven't touched on yet. But it's like this is like in the forefront of my mind. Hey Charles. And so the topic is why the men have left the church. And I think this is an important topic because if you are like me and I'm an 80s baby, most of us grew up in church. Most of us grew up with our parents every single Sunday. We're going to church. Wednesday, we're going to Bible study. Like we going to church. That if we don't do nothing else. And I grew up seeing a lot of men in church. I saw a lot of deacons. Of course, the pastors were all male. I saw, everybody in the church, mainly in leadership, was all male or men. But nowadays, it's like I don't see that anymore. And I started thinking like, wow, where are all the men at? Like the church is 80% like women. And if you go to church, if you guys know, chime in and let me know. Have you been to church lately and just all you saw was women? Like no men. Like some men are there, of course, they're serving. They're actually maybe, they're still doing their duties, but it's not like before. And I'm really concerned, like, why aren't the men coming to church? Because when we look at religion and other aspects like Islam, right? A lot of them men go to Islam the nation and they become great men. They actually serve well. I mean, it's crazy. I see them selling fruit and newspapers on the corner. And a lot of these men were actually Christians before, and it's just crazy that, now they can serve so well. They study, they're structured. I mean, it's just crazy. And I really want to know what happened to our men in church. So we're going to do a little digging and just going to discuss a few different things here around surrounding that. Why I think there's no men, and what do you guys think? I know it's a few people on. Can you guys kind of chime in for me and give me some answers? Okay, Charles, you said sports became our god. Ooh, child. I didn't think of that one. Sports became you guys' god. That's a good one because men now sports is on Sunday. That makes a lot of sense too. Sports is on Sunday and men are actually trying to watch football before they actually go to church. Dang, that makes so much sense. I forgot about that. I forgot about that. It's a distraction from the enemy. That is so right. But now church a lot of times end before 11, right? What time does the game start? I thought the games pretty much start at like what time? 2 o'clock? I don't know. Because normally pastors would say that, they're men too. They're trying to get out and they like, we got to get to the game. So I thought it didn't start till like 2 o'clock. I may be wrong, but that's a good one. Thanks, Charles, for that. So I'm going to go to my Facebook because I posted this question and let's see. One second here, guys. So this is okay. So this is what I posted. Majority of church goers are women. And hopefully you guys can see this. I said, do men still want to go to church? And these were the topics, the kind of answers I got. Some guys said men go off what they see, women go off what they hear. It's a lot of talking and not doing. So that's why the men are falling back. Um, Also, he said, what else did he say? Sorry, y'all. He said he said a little of both because I said, or are people in general just not living the lifestyle? They just, I just wanted to clarify what he meant. He said a little of both. Church is straight business nowadays, which I kind of have to agree with that. Anna says she sees a lot of men going to church, but when I asked her, when you go to church, who outnumbers who, she's like, yeah, I really don't see men. You think you see your uncles and different people that are in church, but you really don't see, you really don't see it, a lot of men in church. So merely said, typically a man isn't a follower. He won't end up in church much unless he holds a decent position. And my, backtrack was, but you have to be a follower to be a good leader. And that's how I feel. So I don't know if you guys saw that, but um yeah, I just feel like all of those questions and answers that I got regarding why men aren't going to church are very important. They're very accurate. A lot of times most men are saying they're not in church because it's catered to women. Church is about emotions, and men are not about emotions. Men are more about community and doing and different things like that. So, I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? Charles, I see you still saying you said tailgating. So what do you think, Leo? Why don't, I want some of the men, Leo and Tony, to answer. Why don't you guys come to church? Not saying you don't go to church, but why do you not feel like it's necessary to be in church anymore? Why do you think the men are like leaving and not going to church? Anybody have an answer? I just want to get your perspective here. I'm gonna go to. I want to let you guys see the statistics of this thing. It's really deep. Let's see here. So I looked up this article here, and it says, where are all the men, right? Exploring the gender gap in church. Now look at this. Look at all these women, and look at one man, one man right there. What is going on? Y'all see that? That don't make sense, right? So it says, according to Kathy Grossman of US Today, women outnumber men in attendance in every major Christian denomination. They are 20 to 25% more likely to attend worship at least weekly. So this is saying right here, it's roughly 61% female and 39% male. That's huge. That's not even 50-50. That's not even 50-50. That's crazy. So those are some statistics of how many men are not going to church compared to women. And let's see here. It says I had another. Let's see. Okay, yep, here it is right here. They say there's a book, David Murrell, Why Men Hate Going to Church. They say that it is the modern feminization of the church that is driving men away. Wow. What do you guys think about that? The modern feminization. Do you guys feel the church is feminized when you go to church? Is it catered towards the women at church? Okay, Leo, you say I honestly don't know. Okay, so you just don't know why you're going. So I think it's probably more of the older men. I seen Tony say hello. I'm not sure if he's still here or not, but a lot of men are saying that church is being feminized. So meaning it's catered to emotions, right? Men are not emotional. They can be emotional, but they're not catered to our emotions. They also, when you're talking about, giving, a lot of men shy away from giving a lot because it's like, come on now, we just gave one offering, you want another offering. And but most of the time they say women are giving out of emotion because we get in our emotions and we're like, I'm gonna give all my pocketbook. And that's why a lot of the women conferences are running over is because it's emotion. It's like a rush of emotional things that's going on in those conferences. I'm gonna also go to this chart here that shows the gender gap or like different religions. One second here. Let's see. Okay. All right. So this actually breaks down the religion global gender breakdown. So if we look at Christians, this is what we're looking at now. So this is women in the red, the blue is the men, and Christians are here. Women are going to church almost 55%. The men are a little bit over 45%. They're in church. But this is interesting. I want to look at the Islam Nation of of the Muslims. Look at this. 50%. So even that 50% that's going, that means the men and women are going equally. Meaning when the men go, they make sure that women go. And it's not a big gap. Look at this big gap. That's terrible. When the men should be are leading, they are the ones who should be the head. There's no way the women should be in church more than the men are. And this is why I believe that our, Christians sometimes our religion is not as strong, because we don't have our men stepping up, our men, being the forefront of church. So when I'm in church nowadays, I don't see I see a lot of women doing everything in church, and I don't have anything against women because I'm a woman, but I don't see the men just running the church like they normally did. I don't see them even a lot of times doing the preaching. A lot of times it's the women that's doing the preaching. And I know this topic is very taboo. I won't touch on should women be preachers or anything like that, because I know that can go somewhere else. I'm just really interested in to know why our men are not there. Like, it really baffles me that the men aren't showing up, and that, like Charles said, maybe they're too interested in football. I mean, if you are a man and you have an idea of why men have left the church, can you drop a comment so we can understand why? Because I'm a woman, and I just feel like, I go to church, but I want to know why the men aren't going. Erica, you said makes you wonder why. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm not getting a lot of answers. So let me go to I'm gonna play this the Perrys. If anybody watches the Perrys, it's her and her husband. She's a preacher and he's not, but they kind of have a podcast as well, and they discuss in detail, which it makes so much sense, why some of the men aren't in church. So I'm gonna play that for us so we can kind of get an understanding of what they present. And I feel it's very accurate of what they're actually saying. So 1 second here.
If the church is primarily catering to women, it could be also because women have statistically been the church's primary audience. Because statistically speaking, women usually make up more of the church membership than men do.
That's true.
But what's intriguing about it is that most men are the pastors. And so I guess my question would be, what even is the reason that men aren't a part of churches? Because the Nation of Islam doesn't have a problem getting men. But I just had a conversation last week with a man he's the leader of his men's ministry. And he was like, men don't want to join. They don't want to participate. They don't want to be active. He was at Glory, and he was like, your women are so excited to be here. I have to beg men to come to Bible study because they feel like if I just came to church with my wife, that's enough. And so maybe women are being catered to because women are more thirsty. Is that wrong?
I have a lot of thoughts.
I want to hear it.
I want to say something about it before
I
you
have a
jump
lot of
in.
thoughts.
I think the nature of women allows them to be attracted to the model of the church and the way the church celebrates and idealizes the person on the stage and the person on the mic. I think in that type of scenario, we need to pay attention. No, right. Pay attention to scriptures. It says there are parts of the body that require the type of attention that the seen parts don't require. And I think we miss that, to recognize that men are drawn to places where they feel valued, or another word for that, where they feel needed. If I go into a space and everybody celebrates the pastor, they listen to the pastor, I come in and I can disappear. I could die and nobody would know. And so I'm not needed here. In fact, the reverence and respect only goes to one place. I think if we, as a church, as a people, men and women, begin to recognize that it truly is a body, and pay attention to the giftings. When a man comes into that place,
how can he serve this community?
How can he serve? How can he be recognized as an individual that is coming to contribute value into this place, even if he never steps on a mic, even if he's never seen? Could the church incubate and create forums where that men could be used and recognized? See, the scripture talks about recognition in the sense that there is a special attention. There's a particular type of care or attention or reverence that goes to the part that is less seen. And I think we got that wrong in the church. That's it repels men.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Let me just say this too.
That's
That
excellent.
I agree exactly with what Ezekiel said, but I also think that we may underestimate how much men want community, right? Because a lot of times a woman can go in a church body and be excited about the worship, be excited about, the pastor preaching, this it there's an excitement, and I don't want to make it seem like women are just like emotional, right? Because I think a lot of women in the church love the Lord and love the body, right? But I think men want connection. Men want more men want discipleship and community than we think. But I think our churches, we don't cultivate those type.
Okay. What did you guys think about that video? That was like right on time information. It's like they were discussing the same thing and my thoughts particularly like, oh my God. So what do you guys think about the video and what the Perrys explained as to why men are in church? Those are two men who actually are in the faith. They, experience they're looking at men not being in church and they're both men themselves. So what do you guys think? Do you have any thoughts regarding what they said? I know for me, he said something very important. He said men aren't valued or needed. And I thought that was so important because even in like your relationships, they tell you like a man needs to feel wanted or needed, because that's their job, that's how they're created, that's how they're made. So I guess this makes sense that it even goes for church, that when men are in church, they don't feel like they're needed. They don't feel that they're valued, even, unless they are the pastor, unless they are serving somewhere where they get recognition, they don't feel that they're valued. And it's crazy. He said, even, if he was to die, no one would be checking for him. No one that's heartbreaking for men to have to feel that way, because we should value our men in church because we actually need men to be in church. We need more men to actually be followers of Christ, because it makes the community better. And he said that another important thing that I've been hearing men say is that a lot of times men, the wives, right? Because you'll see a lot of wives in church, but you won't see their husbands a lot of times. And what they say is that the women in church, their wives are valuing what the pastor is saying over what they say at home. So they go to church and they're listening to the pastor, but they won't even listen to their husbands at home. And so a lot of men find that disrespectful and they say, they just don't come to church because how can you listen to somebody else? You give them your money, you're quick to reverence them, but your own husband you won't reverence, and it just all makes sense as to why men aren't there. I guess I wouldn't want to be somewhere where everybody else is glorified and I'm just sitting here like, oh, little old me. I don't know, what do you guys think? I know, y'all just listening today, I guess. Also, I heard a man said that when it comes to women ministry, a lot of times we often deal with trauma of women. So in churches, the men, we deal with their trauma with women. We don't actually deal with trauma with men. For some reason we think that men and their trauma, we just need to tell them, be strong, you can overcome, you can make it. We just encourage them to do better and to stand up because they're men, but we don't understand that they have trauma just like women, that they have issues just like women, that it's different, but they're still having issues that needs to be addressed, that they want to talk about those issues just like women are talking about it. But when it comes to the men, it's only stay strong, and it's scriptures, and it's nowhere, no conversation or dialogue like it is with women. And so men are like, well, dang, I can't, all I can do is be strong even at church. I can't, let my hair down and say, you know what, this is bothering me, I need help with this. And it makes so much sense as to why men aren't in church either. If they feel like when they go to church it's just like they're in the world, I guess why would they? Because church is supposed to be an outlet for everyone, and not just a woman outlet for a woman, but also men. So I also want to discuss, it's crazy because I've seen a couple videos, right, that were really funny. Well, this one, I'm going to play this. It says, why don't men go to church? And he made a lot of sense on this video. So I'm going to share it with you guys so we can watch that together and then we'll discuss it. All right. Just 1 second here. Oh, where is it at? Hold on, y'all. Don't leave me. I'm trying to find it. It's a video. It's a TikTok video that I thought was funny. I'm gonna share it with you guys. Okay.
All right, y'all, let's get into it. Okay, so this video is inspired by a question that Bianca Gibson, an influencer, brought up on TikTok. I think it's valid and one worth answering. Love the girl, she's awesome. Don't always agree, but she's awesome. Okay, so the question is, why don't more men go to church? Now, I know a little bit about this subject. I was in ministry for over 30 years, been a youth pastor, children's pastor, assistant pastor several times. We planted over 4 churches. I pastored my own church and had my own men's ministry. So know a little bit about this. I will say this, Miss Bianca, and the rest of you, the churches that I attended had a very strong man following because we know how to minister to men. So the number one reason why men don't go to church is church has a feminine energy to it, most churches. In other words, they cater more toward the female congregation than the male. It's emotional. It's really fluffy a lot of times, and men aren't really down with that. Number two, it's boring. A lot of men are about competition. They're about movement. They're about fast. They're about excitement, right? And what we do in the games we play, all of that. And then we go to church and it seems like it's going this slow. So that's number two. Number three reason why men do not go to church is it's not logical enough. In other words, I want to know how you arrived at that conclusion and where I can find it myself and arrive at the same conclusion. I need you to break it down to me, 1, 2, 3, so that I understand it from a logical standpoint. I understand it's spiritual, but at the same time, God is also the God of logic. He's the God of science. He's the God of methods and principles. So that's the the third reason, and then the fourth reason why a lot of men don't go to church is because it is long. A lot of times it's just too long for men. Men think and move in compartments. So we have almost so much patience in a certain area, and then we got to keep moving. If it's not work, then we need to have it at a smaller degree unless it's moving at a certain pace. That's the reason why men don't go to church. You tell me what you think.
Oh, that was so good. What y'all think? What y'all think about it? Okay, I see some new faces. Hey, Melita. Hey, Tina. Hey, Rita. I don't know if I said that or not. So, Mia, what do you guys think? Was he right about it? That was like, he made that so funny. I was laughing over here. But he said it's a lot of fluff in church and it's feminized, like we've been saying. He said it's not logical enough because men are logical. And that makes no sense. I mean, like I said, it's the same things that you hear normally about men. It's kind of like it's the reason why they're not going to church, right? You know, the same relationship advice, you'd be like, well, this is how men are, this is how women are. And it's kind of like it's the same thing that's stopping them from going to church. That's weird. He said also, it's okay. He said boring, of course. He said, and then men don't like to be there for that long of time because, you know, I guess the way they're set up. So when dealing with men not coming to church, we have to understand there is a certain way to deal with them. And I guess the way the modern church right now is dealing with men in church is just not gonna keep men there because it's too feminized. It's what I'm learning here. Merely you said he's not lying. Well, you're a man and you know, so it was just so funny that he said that it's too much fluff and you know it's boring and it's not logical. So I guess that we in you know a lot of times you know when you hear pastors, a lot of them are kind of hollering sometimes, and you know the old church, nothing against it, but I think that is maybe that's what a lot of men, they kind of move away from that. They don't want to hear that. They want you to break it down. How did you arrive to this conclusion and point? But I think if that was the case, a lot of women would leave, because we're different. So I guess we have to how did the churches back in the day get along if this is the case? Why how was it that the women and men were able to be in the same church, and there was the same method used to keep them there. I'm thinking, I don't know, do you guys have any suggestions here, because I'm confused. And I'm about to throw a twist here into this conversation, because um I want to throw another a twist here, okay? Because it was another video I found that was really funny. So right now, we have an understanding of why men are not at church or leaving church. It's too feminized. It's catered to women. Men are not valued or needed. So when they come to church, there's no value. The women value their pastors and, over their husbands. They value them way more than they value their husbands. They value their opinion. They give to them. They're more quickly to do what they say versus their husband. So a lot of men shy away from coming to church because their wives, are just too invested, and it's a man thing. It's a disrespect thing to them. And so that's why they're not there. I would say ego, probably, right? Also, men are, again, they're not giving anything to do. I mean, probably given something to do, but most of the time they're not valued. Um, Also, it's not logical enough. So it doesn't make enough sense for them to be at church, because the way the messages are preached is more feminized. So more so to keep a woman's attention. So that's what I got so far. If you guys think there's anything else that I left out of why men are leaving the church or they're not in church, drop that below. So I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into this, right? Because this is a quick video, and this guy, he said, because the majority of women, it's majority of women in churches, and a lot of times it's majority of black women that's in churches. Especially black women are there and black men aren't. So we see that that's a very large gap there. And so we often wonder why, if most of the women that are in church, they have husbands or they have men, why aren't their husbands coming with them? Can anybody answer that? Do you have an idea why, if you are saved, and I know me, I haven't always been just, the Christian woman that I am today, but I've always, loved God. But I think a lot of times, I know, like back in my days, I probably chose the wrong man that wasn't really interested in the word of God and the word. And so I'm going to church, but I didn't choose the right man. So of course he not in church with me. And that was one of the reasons why, a lot of times my man or husband was my, ex-husband was at home, because we just were on two different pages. That wasn't his thing. And it could have been, the way churches ran too. I don't know. Tina, you said just my thoughts, but maybe some men are afraid of being convicted by God. Then the next step is accountability. Ooh, child. Okay. Ooh. So basically, they're not coming because they are afraid of being convicted, and then they'll have to be held accountable. So I think that's accurate. Like, because if you do come to church, and I was having this conversation with Tonya, I don't think she's on here tonight, but she was talking about some of the men that are in church are only there because they're playing an instrument, they're doing work in church, and that's really the only reason why they're there, to get paid or so. But what I said was that even though they're there maybe for the wrong reason, I think that the seed is still planted. So that's why it's important for you guys to still be there, because even though you think that nothing's happening, there's a seed being planted. You think it's not, but it's going to come up, sooner or later. And so that's why it is important for you to be in church. So that way God can convict you. And then there is accountability. I believe that's a really good one, Tina. Thanks for that. That's really good. So anybody else have any idea on, why else aren't men coming to church? I think we covered majority of all the reasons. Merely, do you have any other idea of why they're not there? Okay, I don't hear merely saying anything or see him saying anything. Okay, so I'm gonna bring up this other video here. Hold on one second. Okay. So this is going to throw a monkey wrench into the system, right? Because this is what this guy is saying. He's saying that women, they may be in church, but the reason why they're there is not to serve the Lord. So let's see what he's saying.
Most of the women that you see is in the church, they not in the church to learn the scriptures. They in the church to try to covet somebody else's man.
It was quick. Did y'all hear what he said? He said most of the women that are in church, they're not there just for to learn or to actually even get God. They're really just there because they're coveting somebody else's husband or man. And what he means by that is because when you go to church, you see a lot of women who are dressed really inappropriately. They're like tight, everything's tight. You can see everything. It's almost like a club. And so he's saying that most women aren't there for the right reason. So they're in church in numbers, but they're really not there for the right reasons. What do you women think? What my ladies, what do you guys think about that? He's trying to say we don't go to church for the right reason. What do you ladies think? I'm waiting on you ladies to provide me with a response. I know me, I know for sure I go to church for the right reason. I've never thought myself to go to church to covet somebody or, and maybe I didn't think that's what I was doing. But if you do go to church and what you have on is, really, um, what is it? Not modest, it could definitely cause, it could cause distraction to other men in church. And so but I have seen some big churches that to me it's all about just men and women dating and you finding a man or I have seen that happen in churches as well. So I guess my ladies don't have any answers for me, but I don't know if that's the case with all women. I know majority of women I know that are in church, they haven't been taught how to dress. And sometimes when you see those young ladies that come in church and they're dressing just like outside the club, you have to pull them to the side and tell them like, "Hey, you need to dress this way or dress better," or this is what the older women were made for in the olden days. They were supposed to be teaching the younger women or the even young women how to love their husbands and how to be keepers of homes, meaning how to dress, how to be appropriate. This is what was supposed to be taught. But because there's been such a, falling away from scripture, none of this is taught. And now we do have women in, that do come to church and it's, sometimes think about this. If there's a man who is coming to church, right, and he's trying to get away from his lustful passions or he's dealing with the spirit of lust, and here we go, we come in church with the tight, skimpy pants on or, everything showing cleavage, showing your butt. How do you think you're going to help him? He's going to fall. And I'm not saying it's just all your responsibility. Yes, it's his as well. But this is why you're not supposed to be a stumbling block in other people's way. That's called being a stumbling block because you can help what you wear, right? You can not put that on, and a lot of times I know even like the spirit to convict me and be like, take that off. And I'm like, but that's not even bad. But I have to take it off because I don't want to be a stumbling block in anybody's way and have them looking at me. Yes, baby. Okay. Here I come. Sit on the couch, baby. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, tell your brother to do something real quick. God, y'all see this? Okay, tell him I said do it now. Okay. I'm on a live. Go. I'm sorry, guys. I probably lost my train of thought. But like I was saying, we don't want to be a stumbling block in anybody else's way as far as them coming to God and coming to Christ. So we want to make sure we're dressing modest so that way they don't have to, be provoked in that way. But so Tina, I see you said it's 50-50 because I sat back and watched about three or four of the churches all over the hold on, wait, let's see. Okay, you said it's 50-50 because I sat back and watched about three or four of ladies of the church all over the pastor until they found out he was married. The pastor hid his marriage from the church. Hmm? Why would he do that? Okay, that's crazy. Why would he hide his marriage? But yeah, that's wrong. But yeah, you said three or four ladies of the church was all over the pastor. So it's kind of like what he said. Women are there pretty much, to find them a man, or they're not really there to learn the scripture so that a good man can come find them. Wow, that's terrible, Tina. Why would he do that? Like because you need to the pastor, the wife protects the pastor. So that way, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no other woman gonna come near him because she there like, no, you ain't. It happens, but that's the whole point of knowing that you have a wife so that way the women won't approach you in that manner. Melita, you said I agree. I'm sorry, but I think most pastors and members, including women, aren't there for the right reasons. Wow. You said I'm going to be a little fair and say at least 50%. True holiness starts from within. I agree, falling away from the scripture. Absolutely. That's deep. And it's getting it. The Bible does say there's going to be a falling away, which there has been. And this is why we see not only the men, but the church has become a circus. And I think Merely was talking about this the other day. He was saying how the church nowadays, just anything is going. And when, a lot of times men see no structure in the church, they don't want to be a part of it. And this is not every church, because like the church I go to with my husband is a very good church, and the pastor leads, the wife follows. Mayflower Church is where I go, but it's really a good church. So I can't say every church, but like Melita said, I would say 50%. Yes, it's gotten that bad where there's been a falling away from holiness. There's a falling away from doing the right things. All of that has been in place, and it's like, we got to really get back. We really do. Tina, you said, of course, he had to step down and actually left the church, but the ladies didn't come back either. Wow. So that shows that the ladies were just there for him, pretty much. They were just trying to find a man, a pastor. So that way, I guess they can feel validated or something, Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy, y'all. We can go on and on about this topic here. But we kind of y'all kind of see why the men kind of left now, right? Because they not getting what they need. And if they feel like it's a whole circus in the church, they feel like nobody's sincere. They feel like the women are there just to, they're looking for other men or they're really not there sincerely. Yeah, they probably won't come either. I wouldn't come either if I felt that way, especially being set up the way men are set up. If I need to feel all that, and I know Darby said this best. He said in I couldn't find a clip of this, but I heard him say this before, Pastor Darby. He's gone, the late Pastor Darby. He said that his church was mainly men, and he said his following was mainly men because he doesn't bash men. So what he said is that a lot of times the men that are preaching would bash the men, and you know how they say, "Girl, if he ain't doing right, kick him to the curb. If he ain't, paying your bills, you don't need him." Stuff like that. And so he said because he does not preach that to bash men, and so he had way more men followers because he was not bashing the men like most churches do because they cater to the women. And that's what I think they mean when when men say the feminization of the church has made them not want to go to church because it's too feminized. It's only one point of view. It's only one side being said, and that's to cater to the ladies. And we know that's why, the money, the women are paying that money. They're bringing that money in. And, that's what churches function off of, and unfortunately, that's the case. I think I wanted to show a study here that, and this is my last slide. It just really much shows how going to church affects the family. And it says that with fathers, who regularly attend church. Well, let me go to the topic. It says says church going men have stronger families. So fathers who regularly attend church have happier and more stable marriages. They're more involved with affection toward their children than non-religious or males who are not in religious groups. Let's see here. Fathers who are religious and who have partners who are religious are on average more likely to be happily married, to be engaged in affectionate parents again. So yeah, it says 70% of men who attend worship several times a month report they are very happy in their marriage, compared to 59% of husbands who rarely attend. Wow. Did y'all see that? So if you're a man, if you have a man who isn't in church, then that, and there you guys are having some issues, that could likely fix your relationship, because they said 70% of men who do actually go to church actually are happier in their marriages. They're better with the kids. And so this just tells you that we need church no matter how bad it gets. We need a good, stable, true, good foundation, a foundational church. So not just anything, somebody who is preaching the word. because it does matter, and it helps our men to be strong. It helps our men to be better fathers, better husbands. And this is a statistics that was actually shared on that article. So um, my thoughts are, and these are my final thoughts. Let's see here. Melody said, I didn't come from a church that bashed me in at all. Oh, left. Okay. That's good. If you didn't, that's great. Cause that's a good church, because majority of the churches, a lot of times when you see that, not saying bash, but they are talking about more so what the men what they aren't doing versus what the woman, isn't doing, or so it's really on the men. And I get, because the men are the head, they're the leaders, right? So I get they get more responsibility to that effect. But what I wanted to say again is about the nation Islam, right? I find it very intriguing. Like Perry said, what's her? I forgot her name, first name, but the Perrys, that the nation has so many strong men, like so many strong men, so many strong followers. And basically they are, and I guess it is about community, that men do desire community, men do desire discipleship. And I think that's why they have such a big following, and a strong following too. Like, I've known men who were Christians and went to Islam, and now are, like, you couldn't go get them to go to church before, but now they're, on the corner selling grapes and things like that. They're really active in their communities. And it just makes you wonder, like, it has to be the structure, in that, we think structure is bad a lot of times, but structure is really good, because it's keeping our men coming back. And although they're in the nation, which we wish they were Christians, because we know what the true, and the actual religion is. But it just makes you think, like, listen, if we have more structure in church, we'll get more men back to the church, because we have to get back to um actually the Bible, because our Bible is structured as well. We have a living God that lives in that deals with structure all the time. It's because we don't practice it, and because of grace that we have allowed it to just run haywire. And I'm not trying to get on here. This is not really a Bible sermon or whatever, but I'm just, thinking, it's really, I'm really, like, baffled when I see, like, the nation in Islam, and the men there, even our black men, they're serving, like, they are really serious, and they're dedicated to the word. They learn the word. And a lot of times you see Christian women who kind of get entangled because of the structure of that man, and because that structure is so attractive to women. Like, honestly, men, if you don't know, a woman needs a good structure from a man. They desire it. And a man who was actually in the word, they know God, and they're really studying, it just makes a woman, desire that man more. Like, honestly, even if we don't have the same gods. Now, of course, I wouldn't do that, because I understand the effects of it. But a lot of times I think a lot of women are entangled with men in different religions, especially Islam. You'll see a Christian woman with Islam, or a Muslim man. And it's because of his structure, which most Christian men do not have this structure. And I'm not saying they can't, but it has to be, because we as a church have allowed too many things to go past, too many things to get, just, without saying it, we just turn a blind eye and say whatever. It happens. Grace will cover it. And I think we've taken grace too far without repentance. And so this is where we are with the church right now, and why the men aren't there. So that's all I have for you guys today. I just wanted to say that. Lady said amen. Yeah, I mean, because one day, if we get our structure back in the church, then we'll get our men back. That's it. That's all. Because we need our men. We need our men in church. Like, what's the point of having single women in church with no husbands? All the women in church, but there's no men there to marry those women. There's no men there being cultivated to know how to operate, and handle those women. And this is the reason why a lot of times we say there's way more men than women, and there's not. It's really an equal number, but because you don't see them in churches, a lot of times you think that you're outnumbered. We're outnumbering men, but we're really not. They're just not there. But we got to get them back. So that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for joining Heart of the Matter podcast. I really appreciate all you guys, all you ladies and gentlemen who joined in today. And if you feel free to share this topic for me, also, if you can like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, trying to get that up. Like, oh my goodness. And if you have any topics that you want to suggest, feel free to DM me or send me an email at heartofthematterpodcast92@gmail.com. And that's all I have for you guys this week. And thank you again for joining. Until next time, peace.